What person alive doesn't get excited about a dream coming true? This started off as a task and a mission, but it became a dream.
It continues because it is clearly the right thing to do. In a world of technology, you have to have technical people. It makes logical sense, and so that's why it thrives. The genesis of it was, I was running Lockheed Martin's nuclear facilities, and there was one here, one in Oak Ridge, one in Portsmouth. But the started with turnover of our engineers. We couldn't keep the engineers. We would hire them, and we'd pay them a bonus to come, and they would come here, and too many of them, because we didn't have an engineering education for them to get advanced degrees, go to night school, they would leave and go home. It translated to 15% turnover, and the COO of Lockheed Martin Corporation, a big company, called me up and he said, "Poston, do you realize we're having a 15% turnover of engineers?" And I said, "Yes, George, I'm working on it." He said, "Don't give me your Rolodex of excuses." He said, "I want to know what you're going to do about it." So I paused about 15 seconds and I said, "George, I'm going to start a 4-year engineering school in Paducah." From there, we went to work on it. We recruited Fred Paxton and Len O'Hara and then eventually David. That was a core group, and we kept growing that core group outward and eventually it was a cast of hundreds.
As president, I had a board of trustees that was called the Paducah Junior College Board, and it was made up of some very prominent and effective local citizens. And my job was to do what the board asked me to do. And what turned out to be is we wanted to build an engineering school in Paducah so that we could increase the economic development prospects here in town and in Western Kentucky and then in the end, in all of Kentucky.
The next step from my standpoint was we recruited 9 other industries in West Kentucky and Southern Illinois to join us to make a pitch to the state.
It was quite involved. I later called Steve, and Steve outlined what the plan was. But more important, Steve outlined the need. And when he explained the need, not only at his plant, but those at Calvert City and others, then I thought, this is important. Let's work on it. The thought that went through my mind was, if you drew a line from Owensboro, Kentucky to Bowling Green, Kentucky, on the right-hand side of that line going east, public and private universities were about 20 or 25, could be a little bit more of that at that time. Okay, if you drew the line west, there was only one 4-year school in all of those counties, dozens of counties. And so I didn't know that much about engineering or the particular need for engineering, but I had in my mind, I had in my heart, and I had certainly a conviction that West Kentucky needs more education opportunities, and an engineering school that fills the need is a perfect match. But it was a chance to lift the ships, if you would, the rising tide for all of West Kentucky.
The sense of pride this community has and deserves is, to me, the most fulfilling, most rewarding thing, because it's a wonderful, wonderful community. I knew it from day one. We had to raise all that money, and no one ever said no when we asked them to contribute. Some could contribute $4 million, and some could contribute $25, but everyone stepped right up and said yes. Branch campuses of engineering had never been done. This was the first, and as far as I know, there's only maybe 1 or 2 others in the country right now. Well, Charles Withington was the president at that time. He said, "Len, the guy you need to know is Lee Todd."
I was in business and trying to get my startup company to be successful, but I heard that there was an effort in Paducah that really wanted an engineering program. And Paducah was always an enlightened area in education. I knew that. My wife and I are from Western Kentucky, went to Murray for a couple of years, and was quite aware of how progressive Paducah was with respect to education. And I knew of the engineering jobs that were down in this area, and it felt important to me that they should have an engineering program.
We went to him, and it was a factor. He was a factor in drawing us there. He was a big factor in this in the success of this program because he supported it from the very beginning. He was, when he came in, it would already, the school had already been built, but he supported this wholeheartedly as president of UK. That meant getting professors down here, keeping the number of the instructions up where you could get the students graduating.
But I was here many times meeting with the planning committee. I was very impressed that you had the mayor, you had the city commissioner, you had the community college president. You had an amalgamation of leaders that were interested in just doing the right thing for the upcoming technology area. Not many people in Kentucky were thinking about growing in the technology area at that time. We were trying to recruit companies to come here and give us jobs and whatever they could give us because we had cheap land and cheap labor. But the Paducah leaders were thinking about building something that had a future to it. So I was very happy to be involved with that program and came here several times to try to urge them to keep going.
When Lee Todd got involved, not only the people in Paducah became more excited, but the people in central Kentucky, the power base, let's say, in what we call the Golden Triangle, the governor's office, he brought credibility. He brought something to the table that we had been saying, but we were having a harder time than we had hoped getting across in central Kentucky. He was instant credibility. When he said this will work and I support it, then I think Steve and I looked at each other and thought, all right, let's go.
Three thumbs up.
Yes, 3 thumbs up.
It's remarkable to see a strategy being set apart 20, probably 30 years ago to try to build something like this and for it actually to reach the point where it has 500 graduates. That's amazing. And Kentucky needs more engineering graduates. One of the topics of my speech to the chamber at that time was, if we're going to make a mistake, let's make it in the direction of technology. Everything's going in that direction. We're still trying to do recruiting in industries of the past that'll be gone in 10 years. If you do something in technology, it'll stay. And I think it's really been a testament to the thought leaders of Paducah over the years that they bet on technology early on, and I think you can see the results for it now. I taught engineering at UK for 9 years, and 80% of the students that I taught my last year left the state of Kentucky to find jobs. And you lose those kids and you lose their children, their children's children to other states. And we need to keep that talent here, and this program is certainly showing that you can do that.
At the time we started on this, the University of Kentucky had done some surveys and told us that they had, and I remember this number well, 58.6 of the engineers graduating at the University of Kentucky in the Lexington campus were staying in Kentucky. And that was music to our ears because, if we can graduate them here, we can keep them here. And a guy out at the university, the education school now, Ben Stennett, told me that about 60% of our engineers are staying in this region. Mission accomplished. That's exactly what we wanted.
Well, I'm most proud of the fact that we were able to deliver something for this community that the community deserved. The community was hungry to prove that it had capacity, that it could do great things. And so I'm most proud of the fact that we did it. They stunned me, and I expected great things, but what we have accomplished here is just truly amazing.
The thing that excites me is that I see new companies coming in like Hopflight, and they came in by their own words because we had this engineering school. That's music to my ears. And I believe that justifies, if you want to attract industry, which is to a large degree technology, you've got to compete with engineers. It worked. It's worked for 25 years, and we've graduated 500 engineers. That makes the case as strong as I can possibly make it. So 500 engineers that we wouldn't have had. So it's these homegrown engineers that made the difference.
Just to see the numbers that Steve just talked about, 500 graduates and the number of people that are making an impact in this area. Man, I'm excited about that because I know the dream's not over. The dream's growing, and it's going to be bigger and bigger. And I wish 25 years from now I could be here and see what you guys have accomplished because it's going to be super. So if we had a magic wand, what would we do? Well, I think we'd probably agree it would always be springtime in Kentucky, but we can't make that happen. But we can make changes in certain spots, in certain areas, in certain communities. And I feel like this school has done that, is doing that, and will continue to do that.